Hi and welcome back to the course. As I said before, in this section we're going to be creating a microblog. And in order to store the microblog posts, we're going to need a database. Another option would be to use a file and just save our posts to a file, but that's not something that you will encounter very often when you're working as a software engineer. So we're going to stick with a database, which is slightly more complicated. It will be a bit more work, but it will be well worth it when you do get it set up. So we're going to be using MongoDB, and in the next couple of videos I'm going to be going over why we're using MongoDB and sort of how to use it and things like that. It's really quite simple, in fact. I was very surprised when I started learning about MongoDB how easy it was to do pretty much anything with it. And in fact, installing MongoDB, which is what we're going to be doing in this video, is actually not that difficult either, although it does incur some work. Now, if you go to this link here, which should be linked under the video, in the instructions under the video, you will find that you can install MongoDB in all the different systems that you would expect. So I'm using Mac OS X, so MongoDB already tells me that I can download the Mac OS X version, and that's fine. You can also install it for Linux. If you're using a Linux distribution, simply select your distro here. I'm sure you don't need any help with that. Most people will likely be using Ubuntu, so choose the appropriate Ubuntu version or whatever else you're using, of course. And also you can install it for Windows, and I'm sure that a lot of you are using Windows, and unfortunately Windows is the most complex of the installations, but that doesn't mean it's too difficult. So if we go to the installation instructions, which should be opening here momentarily as my internet fails in the best moment. There we go. I meant to have good internet, but it hasn't been working too well. Okay, so to install MongoDB on Windows, there are a couple things you have to know, which are here at the top, which starting with version 2.2, the current version of MongoDB as of this video is 3.0. So MongoDB does not support Windows XP. So unfortunately, if you're using Windows XP, I can't really help you with that. You will not be able to run MongoDB on the latest version. You'll have to use 2.1, which is quite old. So I cannot recommend doing that. So if you're using Windows XP, what I do recommend is that you install Ubuntu in either your machine by dual booting or by using VirtualBox. If you use VirtualBox, you can download Ubuntu and install VirtualBox inside, install Ubuntu inside your Windows environment, so you won't have to restart in order to run Ubuntu, and you can always delete Ubuntu later on when you're finished with the course. Sadly, I'm not going to be getting into how to do that here, but it's really easy. Simply look for how to install Ubuntu with VirtualBox, and it's really very easy. I've done it many times myself. And also, if you're running any edition of Windows Server 2008 or Windows 7, which I'm guessing a lot of people are, you'll need to install a hotfix, which shouldn't be a big problem. Also, do remember that on Windows, MongoDB requires Windows Vista or later, of course, and down here it says MongoDB for Windows 64-bit only runs on Windows 7 64-bit and newer versions, and of course Windows Server, but I don't think anybody's using that. So you'll need Windows 7 64-bit. If you're using 32-bit versions or Windows Vista, you're going to need MongoDB for Windows 32 bits, which has an important limitation in my opinion, which is that you can only have databases up to 2 GB in size. I'll use this time as well to recommend that you upgrade to a 64-bit version of your operating system if you are using a 32-bit version. However, you still have MongoDB for Windows 64-bit Legacy, which will run on Windows Vista 64-bit, but does not include recent performance enhancements, and that's not a big deal for us. We're not going to be squeezing performance out of MongoDB. So, if you're using a 32-bit computer operating system, I'd suggest you upgrade to 64-bit unless your hardware cannot support it, which hopefully that's not the case. If you're using 64-bit Windows Vista, install MongoDB for Windows 64-bit Legacy, and if you're using Windows 7 64-bit or newer, then install the normal default version. And if you're not sure which version you're using, you can just use that command there. And after that, it's really not that difficult. Simply go back to the downloads page, download the appropriate version, that now you know which one it is, and then follow the instructions here, which are extremely thorough, and they are not very difficult at all. After you've installed MongoDB, you'll have a few files, one of which is MongoD, MongoD with a D at the end, that you can run, and that will start the MongoDB server in your laptop, or computer rather. If you do have any problems, let me know. It should be fairly simple to get it started, and this guide here is very, very good to get started with it. So, of course, do read through it and try to get that installed. In order to install it in Mac, I recommend we go to the Homebrew page, which is also linked below. And if you install Homebrew, Homebrew is a package manager, which means that once you install Homebrew, you can use Homebrew to install other things very easily. And in order to install Homebrew, you just need to copy that into your terminal. In order to open the terminal, simply open up Spotlight and type term, and then you'll find the terminal there. And then simply copy that and paste it into the terminal. That will install Homebrew. And after you've done that, you can go to the downloads page again, Mac OS X, installation instructions, and then it'll tell you that you can install MongoDB with Homebrew, and it's really very easy to install with Homebrew. Simply type brew update in your terminal, and then brew install MongoDB. And that's all you've got to do to install it in the Mac. Really, it's that simple. So the Mac, a bit easier. If you're in Linux, you can use the apt package manager or yum to install it very easily as well. I'm sure you know how to do that. Simply do yum install MongoDB or apt get install MongoDB, and in both cases it should work. Okay, so that's how you install MongoDB. Sorry for the lengthy video. We have to go through different operating systems, and I apologize again if you're in Windows for the extra difficulty in doing that, but I promise it will not take very long to get it installed, and once you have it installed, you won't have to touch it ever again. You'll just have to double click an icon and run MongoDB, and that's all you've got to do. So once you've got MongoDB installed, proceed on to the next video where we're going to be just quickly going over how to use MongoDB. So I'll see you there.